Hey guys, I hope I am audible. Let me just check. Cool, I think I am audible. Alright, so then let's begin. So, welcome everyone to today's YouTube live session. Today we'll be talking about Git and GitHub. Welcome to how to use GitHub to land your next AI job. What will we do in this session? In this session, we'll embark on an exciting journey into the world of version control and collaboration. Whether you are a seasoned developer or just starting your coding adventure, understanding both Git and GitHub is crucial for efficient and organized software development. Git, a distributed version control system, it forms the foundation of our exploration. Today, we'll unravel the mysteries of Git and learn how it empowers developers to track changes, manage different versions of file, and work collaboratively in a seamless manner. But that's not all. We'll also delve into the world of GitHub, a powerful web based platform built upon Git. GitHub takes collaboration to the next level by providing a centralized hub for hosting repositories, sharing code, and enabling team collaboration. Here's a simple glimpse of what we'll be covering in the live session. We'll first have an introduction to Git, we'll have a look at some Git commands. We'll then go to GitHub, we'll learn about some features of GitHub, and we'll try exploring advanced GitHub features. So, whether you are a beginner looking to understand the basics or an experienced developer seeking to optimize your Git and GitHub skills, this live session promises to be an enriching and insightful experience. Prepare to embark on a journey of mastery and excellence of version control and collaboration. Let's begin. So, the first question that goes into picture is, what is Git? So Git basically is a distributed version control system which is used for tracking changes in files and coordinating work on those files among multiple people. It was created by a person Linus Torvalds, the same person who created the Linux operating system. Let's say think of Git as a tool that helps you manage and keep a track of your code or any other type of files. It allows you to save different versions of your files over time and provides mechanisms for collaborating with others. I said something version control system. So let's have a look at what exactly do I mean when I say controlling the versions of the file. So let's take for example that you are working on an app and the version of the app you are working on is 2.0. Let's assume. You show this app to the client and the client likes the app. The client says, okay, now the app is good. Can we add more features into the app? What would you normally do is take the 2.0 app code as the base and then create a 2.0.1 version of it, maybe, or 2.1, however you call it. Let's say I'm calling it as 2.0.1. Cool. This is done. You show it to the client once again. The client says, okay, this is also looking good. Now, can we add a little bit of more features into this? So you now take the 2.0.1 code as the base and you create a 2.0.2 version of the app. Keep in mind you have kept the 2.0.1 as the base. Now let's say you show this to the client, but however the client does not approve this. Client says this does not look great. However, as compared to the base version that is 2.0, the 2.0 version was the best if you compare it with this one. So how exactly are you supposed to go from 2.0.2 directly to 2? We cannot do a control Z, right? We cannot undo the code. So this is where your Git comes into picture. This Git is a tool which will help you to manage these versions. So when you are working with Git, Git will be able to take you, or you can go back to the previous versions. From 2.0.2 you can go to 2.0.1, and you can also go to 2.0 code without affecting the other parts of your code or the new features that you have created. You can simply come back to the previous versions. So I hope you understand that how powerful the tool Git is. So today we'll just have a look at what are some Git commands that might be helpful to you while you're working in a corporate field. What are some Git commands that will be helpful to keep a track of the versions that you are working with, keep a track of all the changes you have made in the file, etc. So in order to use Git, the first thing you will have to do is you will have to download the Git. So you will have to say Git downloads, and depending on the type of OS you are using, if you are using a Mac OS or a Windows or a Linux, you have all the three options. For me it was Windows, so I've already downloaded the Windows. You just have to go to Windows and click on either 32-bit or 64-bit, whichever suits your PC setup. So for me it's 34-bit Git for Windows setup. Just click on it, download it. Once you have downloaded, how will you get it? Just right click on your desktop, and this is where you will get the Git bash. So we have already downloaded the Git terminal over here. The Git is already there for me, and if you see, I'm already inside my Git toolbox. Now, before starting off Git, the first thing you will have to understand is you will have to configure Git with your GitHub. Of course, we'll be having a look at GitHub in a while, but you will have to configure Git to your GitHub. Like, this is the user of Git, and this is the same user who is having the GitHub repository. So before we start off with that, now that we have installed Git, just check the version of the Git. So this is the version of Git that I have downloaded. So it says Git version 2.40.1 .windows.1. It might be changing for you, and that's pretty normal. The next thing we have to do is we have to configure, right? We have to connect our Git to our GitHub. So in order to do that, you will say git config -- global user dot name. These are the few commands that you will be going through in today's session, and if you want, you might have to note it down. So in here, you can just put your username. Like for me, for my GitHub, it's this for my GitHub. Once this is done, press and enter, and also you will have to put in your email ID. The username is the one that appears on GitHub, and the email ID is the one that you have used to log in into GitHub. So in order to configure your email account, the same thing, git config -- global user dot email, and put in your email over here, whatever xyz@gmail.com you're having, and you can just press and enter. So once that is done, your Git is now configured to GitHub, meaning your codes we can save it later on into GitHub. Now, in order to check if the configuration is properly done or not, you can go ahead and say git config user dot, let's say, name. There you go. So for me it was configured already, so I'm getting the name. In a similar way, if you want to check for email, so email, there you go. So this is how your Git works. Now, coming back to how exactly does it track the file, what are the different features of Git, so let's have a look. I'll just close this and reopen this so that people who have just joined can see how to open this again. So right click on your desktop and git bash is here. Let's try to first create a empty folder using Git. So currently I'm on my desktop, if you see, right? So I'll try to create an empty folder right here in front of you. So in order to create a folder, we call it as a directory in terms of GitHub. So we see mkdir. Mkdir stands for make directory. I'll just name it as test1 for now. So as soon as I say mkdir test1, at the top left corner of my screen, there you go. There, if you can see, there is a test1 folder. Currently, I am in OneDrive and desktop. I need to go inside this test folder. So I'll say cd test1, wherein cd stands for change directory, changing your positioning from one folder to another, from one directory to another. So now if you see, I am in cd test1. I am inside test1. Now let's open this test1 folder in any IDE that you want. I'll use Visual Studio Code for that. So open folder. And you can go to wherever place your folder is, and there we go. So currently my test1 folder is empty. Let's try to write a Python code in this one. Now let's say for some file.py, just an example. Why are we using Python? So as you know, Python is a high level programming language, and it is one of the most widely used programming languages in the world currently. Python is used in AI because Python has different features, like it is more readable, it is more convenient to use, it is more user friendly, and the libraries which are provided by Python are wide in number. So there are n number of advantages of Python. So when you talk about AI, we speak about Python a little bit more because of its features of readability and convenient for the users, basically user friendly. So let's try to create a function in Python. So you create a function in Python by using a def command, a definition command. I'll just name it as add, maybe. You can name it whatever you want. Function. So whenever you are trying to add, how many minimum numbers we need minimum 2 numbers. So let's pass them as the parameters. Let's say A and B. Let's go inside the function add. Now, the first thing what we will do is we'll try to print the results of A plus B. Simply, my function is trying to add the two numbers which I give. Currently, I haven't given any numbers because I want the user to choose the numbers whatever the user wants. It is not supposed to be two constant numbers like 4 and 4 or 3 and 4 every time. Let the user choose them. So we created a function, let's say function add. Def is the keyword used for the function, and add is just the name I have given. A and B are the two parameters, signifying that I have two different numbers that I'll be adding, and the output or the result of my function is supposed to be the addition of the two numbers. Let's call the function, let's call the function with the name. So I'm just saying 5, 6. So I replace the A with 5 and B with 6. So in my function, wherever A is, it will get replaced by 5, and wherever we have B gets replaced by 6. Let's try to run the code for a second. There you go. It shows me 11. I can put whatever numbers I want to now. So if I run it again, I have different results. That is the functionality of a function. You create a function so that you can reuse that part of code again and again. So just a simple Python function to make you understand that just to create a simple addition function, it just takes 3 lines. So if you see, Python is very efficient, and it has a strong library support as well. So now let's go back to Git. Where are we? We are in OneDrive, desktop, and test1. Let's try out with our first Git command. So the first Git command that we are using is git let's try out with the first git command ls. Ls means a list. Ls gives you the list of the files that are present in a particular folder. Currently I just have some file.py, so it is just showing me some file.py is present. So that is about ls. Now if I say git status, it says fatal, not a git repository or any parent directories. So make sure you remember every time you create a folder, and if you want the Git to be tracking it, if you basically want the Git to be working into that folder, make sure you use something called as git init. Now what is this git init for? Git init stands for initialization. It sets up an empty git repository which will be used by the git to keep a track of your files. So as soon as I pass git init, it says initialized empty git repository in whatever location I am currently, and it brings my code to the master branch. We'll talk about branches in a while. Now when I say ls, I told you that there's a git file, git repository created. But when I say ls, it is just some file.py. So git repositories, the git init file is usually hidden. So you can just do ls and -a command to just see if there is any git repository initialized. So lse is the command that we can use to see that. Now let's pass the git status once again. So now when I say git status, let's have a look at it. It says my code is on master branch master. Okay, that's fine. Yes, my code is on master branch. No commits yet. So we'll talk about commits as well. And it says untracked files, and it has also given us a suggestion: use git add file to include what will be committed. And the some file.py is in red color. I just told you that Git tracks a file, it's a version control system. So how exactly now it shows that it is an untracked file? I just told you that it will track the file. So let's have a look at how the flow of Git takes place. So let's go over here. So what happens is whenever you are working with Git, your file goes through three different stages. The first stage is the working directory, second stage is the staging area, and the third is what we call as repository. Let me take you back to the good old days when we used to do painting and sketching. The first thing you used to do was sketching or sketch something. So while you were sketching, you were allowed to do as many corrections as you wanted in that sketch, in that drawing of yours, right? Once that drawing was figured out, once you finalized it, then is when you paint, and the last thing you do is submit. So think of your sketching phase as the working directory wherein you can make whatever changes you want in the code. Once the code is finalized, then you paint it, or basically you put it into the staging area. And lastly, you put into the repository in GitHub to showcase it to the world. So if I summarize it, working directory, also known as working tree, it refers to the directory on your computer where you have your project files. It is the area where you make changes to your files, maybe modifying codes, adding new files, deleting existing ones. Think of it as your workspace where you actively work on your project, so any modifications are allowed. Staging area, also called as the index, acts as a middle ground between your working directory and the repository. It is like a place where you select and prepare the changes that you want to include in your next commit. What is commit? Commit is basically saving your code. Like, yes, this is the new code I have added, and save it for future purpose. By adding files or modifications to the staging area, what you do is you indicate that these changes are ready to be permanently saved as a part of your project history. That is basically what you mean by commit. Last but not the least is a repository. A repository or a Git repository is where all the versions of your project and its history are stored. It's like a database that holds all your commits, whatever changes you have made, or which are the snapshots of your project at different points in time. The repository keeps track of the changes which have been made to your files and allows you to revisit them. If you want to go to any past version, your repository will allow you to revisit them because it's a repository that has kept the details of your commits throughout the project. It serves as the central storage for collaboration, version control, and like the complete history of the project. So working directory is where you actively make changes. Staging area is where you prepare and select the changes to be included in the next commit. And repository is where all the commits and the complete history of your project are stored. So the few git commands that we have looked at right now are git init is the one. Then we also have git status that we just saw. Now let's have a look at git log, git add, git commit, and all of them. So let's go back to our file. Let me also open this. Good. So now it says when I say git commit, when I say git status, it shows me the status that it's an untracked file, and it says git add file. So what is this git add? This is where my staging area comes into picture. I need to add it to the staging area by using the git add and the file name, which is some file.py currently. So as soon as I do this, now when I say git status, there you go. So now my file is included in the staging area and it is ready to be tracked by the Git. So now it is showing you in green color. So putting a file into the staging area is allowing the Git to track it. It's like now you have finalized, like, yes, these are the changes I have made. So I added a function to my file, right? So these are the changes I have made and I would want the Git to track it. Now, the next thing you do after putting it into a staging area, you also do a git commit. You tell the computer like, yes, this is the changes I have made, so that in future if you want to come back, you can actually refer to this commit. The git commit minus m stands for message if you want to put any message. So I'll just say initial commit added a sum function. You can add whatever description you want. So I'm saying initial commit added a sum function. So if you see, it created sort of a description saying one file change, 4 insertions, whatever insertions and deletions you do will be shown over here, and it has created a unique ID. So we can refer to this unique ID whenever you want to come back to this particular commit. So now we have committed everything, and now when you check the git status, it is still in track. But now let's say I want to make some change to my code. Now I can see, okay, Git is keeping a track and all of that. But what if I make some code? I suddenly remembered I also want to say sum of the two numbers is. The only change this will make, if you compare it with the previous one, is it will give you a string saying sum of the two numbers is and then the number. I just made a small change. When I come back to Git and check the status once again, now it says that the file is in red color and it says modify, because I made a change in my file, and again, it comes back to my working directory. It is not tracking it once again. So in order to make the git track it, we have to add the file to the staging area. How can we do that? Again, git add some file dot py. If I do that, and now if I check the git status, there you go, now it is green in color. Again, if I do a commit, let's say git commit minus m, and I'll say added print statement. So this will be my second commit, right? And if you see, again it created a unique key so that I can come back to the commit whenever I want. So keep this in mind. Whenever you try to make any change in your code, it comes back to your working directory. This is where it comes back to the working directory. You will have to add it into the staging area by saying git add. And once you do a git commit, you are preparing it to go to the repository. So the few commands that we have seen so far are git commit, git status, and git add. Now let's have a look at what is git log. So when I say git log, it tells me whatever commits I have made so far. So I have made around 3 commits so far. Let's see. So initial commit, the one that I create, 2 commits so far, my bad. The initial commit when I added a sum function, and the second one when I added this print statement, if you see. Now, let's say I have created these. Now I just do not like this print sum of the two numbers. I want to go back to the previous version, the previous code that I had, which did not involve the print statement. Imagine yourself to be in a situation wherein you have created a new feature for the app, and it took you like, let's say, 3 to 4 pages of your code, and now you do not like it. So you want to go to the previous version of the code where you have kept a commit. So how do you come back to that? So in order to do that, you use a command called as git checkout. Git checkout will make sure that you are checked out from this particular version, from this particular commit to the previous commit, whichever you want. So if I scroll up where we had made the commit, this is where we had made the commit, right? Added a print statement, git commit minus m. You see there is this code generated. So all you will have to do is copy this code, copy it, and come back over here and paste it. So when you say git checkout and the code, it didn't get copied. Let's do it once again. This part, control C, git checkout and paste it. Cool, it got pasted. Now if I print, go to an enter, just a second. I'm sorry, I need to go back to the initial commit that I did, not this one, the first commit that I did after adding the sum file. So make sure that you check the unique ID that is created really well. So let's have a look. This is my unique ID, right? this one. Let's try this out. So let's go back. Currently I am in a detached head state. If you see, I do not see a master thingy over here. So first of all, let's do git checkout master for a second. We'll talk about git checkout master in a minute. Let's say git checkout and that code, the unique ID that we had, not this one. This one, 100644. So 100644. As soon as I do this, it did not match any file. Let's see if I'm making any. Oh, okay, sorry. Copy. This is my code, guys. This is not the one. So git checkout and paste it. Cool. Please make sure that there are no extra spaces. So as soon as I do this, have a look. So if you just had a look, the code on the left hand side automatically deleted my print statement that I had created. Why? Because I checked out or went back to the previous version. So just make sure you don't make a mistake like me. Like I was not able to figure out the unique ID that was created. So you need to make sure, like, this was the unique ID for the first commit that we did. We did the first commit after adding the function. We did the second commit after adding the print statement. So I needed to go back to the first commit. So this was the key code generated after the first commit. So git checkout and the code that was generated after the commit is what will help you to check out or go back to the previous version. So I hope you see how powerful this git is. This was just one single statement for me, but imagine to have 4 to 5 pages of your code. So instead of, like cutting the code or copy paste, you can just check out to the previous commit that you have done. Now if you have a look, I am on a detached head. I am on a remote branch. So in order to go back to the master branch, I'll say git checkout master. Now what exactly are branches? So let's go back to this place wherein we'll be having a look about branches. So branches are basically like, let's say you are working on the 2.0 app again. So from the 2.0, let's say you want to create 3 different features. So you can create 3 different branches, and you can also create sub branches out of these 3 different branches if you want. So it's like every feature is created which is independent of the previous feature or independent of the root feature. And then if this feature is approved and you like it, then you can come back and merge it with the actual feature. Updates, we get updates on our phone, right? So how are the updates on the phone created? The base code of the apps stay the same. They are just trying to add new features or new branches, and when the new features are updated, they try to merge it with the previous features available. So these are called as branches in Git and GitHub. So if you look at the Git currently, let's have a look at how many branches are there initially. So when I say git branch, it says that I only have a master branch. By default, Git will only provide you with one branch, that is the master branch. If you want to create any more branches, you say git branch and the name of the branch. Let's say I'm saying git branch dev, just a name. So now again, when I say git branch, it will show me that I have 2 branches, dev and master. It is highlighting master because currently I am on my master branch. If I want to go to the dev branch, what will I say? I'll say git checkout and dev. This will make sure that I have shifted my branch from master branch to the dev branch. So this is how you create the new branches. Now that you have created the new branches, if you go to your editor and then you try to create a new file, let's say I'll do add is done. Let's say I'll do subtract.py. So whatever changes I make in here will get registered in the dev branch basically. And again the same thing, whenever let me take you through a small example for this. So I'll just say sub, for instance, print the subtraction of 2 numbers is, and we'll say a minus b, and instead of add we'll just say sub. Now if I go back to my git And if I just say git status once again, we can just write it. So there you go. So the subtract.py being a new file, if you see, it is again an untracked file. We haven't added it in the staging area, nor we have committed. So all these steps you will have to repeat. So I'll just say git add. You can just say a git add dot. A dot basically means when you want to add all the files. So git add dot. Now when I say git status, so I am in the dev branch, remember. So in the dev branch I only have subtract.py. I don't have some file.py, that is in the master branch. I can also do a commit, so git commit -m, and you can say sub for now. So if you again see, a code has been generated, and basically your commit has been done. If you want, you can do a git log to check how many logs you have done so far. So 3 initial 2 we had done for the sum file, and 1 we did for the sub file. Now let's say both the files are on 2 different branches and you want to merge them. So you do a git merge and whatever you want to merge it for. So in order to do that, I'll just try to do a git checkout master. So now I'm in the master branch and I want to merge the dev. Now that I'm in the master branch, have a look. The subtract.py file is deleted because on the master branch the subtract.py wasn't there. It was in the dev branch. So I'll say git merge and dev. Now when I do this, have a look. Now the subtract.py is also there. So now both the files are present on my master branch. So this is what happens. You merge all the features together once they are approved. So now when I say git status, nothing to commit, everything working trees clean. So both of the files, are tracked by my git. So this is how your git works. You can make sure that you have added it into the staging area, basically prepared it for further pushing it into the repository using git add, do a git commit every time you make changes so that you can come back, and also check the git log and everything. And if you want to go back to any previous version, just do a git checkout. So this is how your git works. Now if I want to put this code into my GitHub, so now let's have a look at what is this GitHub. We spoke about Git being a version control system. Now let's have a look at what is GitHub. So if you have seen, photographers are something called as portfolio, wherein they try to showcase their work. So GitHub is basically a web-based platform that provides a place for the developers to store and manage their code. Let's say it serves as a central hub for collaboration, version control, and project management. Think of it as a social network for developers to share, contribute and collaborate on software projects. I'm showing you some key aspects of GitHub. So repository hosting. GitHub provides a platform to host Git repositories. Repositories in GitHub, code is organized into something called as repositories. In simple language, if we talk about repositories, they are nothing but folders. It is like a folder or a container that holds a specific project's files together. Collaboration. GitHub enables seamless collaboration among developers, providing tools for pull requests, code reviews, and issue tracking. Version control. GitHub leverages Git powerful version. It uses the Git's version control system. It allows you to keep a track of the changes, to manage the branches, and to go back or revert to any previous versions. Community and social coding. GitHub fosters a vibrant developer community where you can discover, contribute, and collaborate on. Collaboration is one of the main reasons why GitHub is very popular. Last but not the least comes project management. It offers tools for project management such as issue tracking, project boards, and milestones to help you organize and manage your softwares effectively. So GitHub's popularity and widespread adoption have made it like an essential platform in the software development industry. It provides a seamless environment for developers to showcase their skills, contribute to open source projects, and collaborate with the teams. Many companies hire people on the basis of their GitHub activity because GitHub is the place wherein we keep all the work we have done, wherein we showcase all our projects. So GitHub is like, a portfolio for developers. By leveraging the power of Git and GitHub, developers can streamline their workflows, improve the code quality, and build better software together. So let me just quickly show you GitHub as well. So this is how my GitHub looks like. Now let's say this code that we have created on Visual Studio Code, a simple Py code, we just want to put it into GitHub. So the first thing you will have to do is set up a repository. Even before that, set up a GitHub account. So just go to github.com, sign up with your email and password, and this is how your GitHub account would look like. Slightly empty, but very much the same. So create a new, create a GitHub repository. I'll just name it as test. Okay, test 1. All right, and I'll keep it public, and I'll say create repository. You want, you can give a description, add a readme file which will tell people more about your code, but for now I'll just keep the repository empty. Now as soon as I create the repository, I have various ways to add the files into the repository. So this part is creating the repository right from the scratch, and this part is if you already have a local repository, a local folder in your file, and you just want to upload it on GitHub. So we are on this. We need to push the existing folder that we have into GitHub. So the first thing that we will do is follow the command git remote add origin. So you will have to go to git and just try to paste this. So git remote add origin will add it into the remote repository. Origin is just a name, okay? You can name it anything you want. And over here you also have the name of the repository that you are putting or adding the file into. So as soon as I do this, the file is added to a local repository. In order to add it to the public repository, all I want to do is git push -u origin main. U stands for uplinking. It creates a link between your repositories. So last command, when I put git push -u origin main, one second, I think we missed this. And now let's say git push origin main. Cool, my bad. The main branch was missing, the main branch comment. So now when I try to reload my GitHub page, there you see both the files are here. And if you see, I have made 3 commits. Let's go back and try to check. If you remember which was the command used, git log, right? So we had made 3 commits, 1, 2 and 3. So as I told you, git keeps a track of them. You need not remember all the commits. You see, these are the different codes generated. So git commit is a very important command when it comes to git. It helps you to keep a track of all of the things. So there are 3 commits done. When exactly was it finished, and when exactly did you created them, who created them, all of these, how many branches are there. So you remember we had merged both the branches into one, so that is why currently we have one more branch. When I say collaborating of projects, currently I am on my GitHub, so this fork is disabled. However, if you try to access this link from your GitHub, you should be able to fork it. Fork a repository means basically you are trying to create a duplication of this, and you can make an own version of this. There are more things called as pull request, and then merging the changes that you made into my file. We'll look at them in a later YouTube live video session. So for the time being, this was about Git and GitHub. Now coming back to the presentation again. So in the field of AI, Git and GitHub, they both play a very vital role in the learning journey. GitHub serves as a hub for open source AI projects, enabling the learners, to access a vast array of cutting edge algorithms, models, and frameworks which are shared by the experts throughout the world. By leveraging Git, a version control system, learners can efficiently manage changes in their AI project, track progress, and collaborate seamlessly with peers. Git allows for easy branching, experimentation, and integration of different AI techniques, facilitating iterative development and experimentation. Moreover, GitHub's collaborative features such as pull requests and code reviews, they foster a community-driven learning environment where learners like us can receive feedback, improve their code quality, and learn from others' expertise. Overall, mastering Git and GitHub in the context of AI, artificial intelligence, empowers learners to actively participate in the AI community, enhance their skills, and stay updated with the latest advancement in the field. I am very excited to announce that we at Wisely Wise are offering a GitHub course, a new GitHub course. This course is designed to help you learn the basics of GitHub, including how to create and manage repositories, collaborate with others, and use the different GitHub actions. GitHub is a popular code hosting platform that is used by millions of developers all around the world. It is a great tool for managing your code, showcasing your code, presenting it in your company interviews and all. This course is perfect for anyone who wants to learn more about GitHub. Whether you are a beginner or a seasoned developer, you will find something useful in the course. The course is taught by experienced instructors who will walk you through each step of the process. You will learn by doing, and you will have the opportunity to ask questions along the way. If you are interested in learning more about the GitHub, I would request you to contact us on cxo@wiselywise.com. In the description of the video, I'll be also putting the link to the course so you can go through it. It's a great way to learn the basics of GitHub and start using it to manage your code. The few things that you will learn through the course, if I can just take you through, would be we'll have an introduction to version control system in detail. We'll have an in detail introduction to GitHub, managing repositories, what are repositories, GitHub features. We'll be having quizzes and worksheets throughout the entire course to help you with what you have understood. So this course provides a brief introduction to GitHub and its workflows. So if you are interested, please make sure that you drop us an email on cxo@wiselywise.com. So that's it for today. I hope you guys have enjoyed, and I will see you soon in our next YouTube live session. So until then, have a great day ahead. Goodbye.